All right, this one sucks, but we have to get through it. Welcome to Luncheon Kingdom. This kingdom is probably the first kingdom where it kind of becomes a little bit more difficult than just clapping your hands together and getting through the kingdom, smiley face. Luncheon Kingdom as a whole is quite difficult and quite movement intensive, which means we really need to focus on our movement here if we have any hopes of going even a little bit fast. There are a lot of things involved in this kingdom, and this is probably a kingdom where you might look at this at the end of the day and be like, wow, Tom Shee, this looks way harder than anything you've shown up until this point. And that's true. Unfortunately, Luncheon Kingdom is just kind of like that. It is probably one of the most difficult kingdoms in the 80% route. It's definitely up there with Bowser's and Metro. It's just kind of annoying. So all I can do is show you the best ways to run through this and teach you the ways, and hopefully that's enough for you to pop off and go fast. So let's begin, shall we? As you're aware, skip through all the necessary cutscenes, smash through all the cappy text, etc, etc. Then once you gain control of Mario, dive towards the upright and roll boost twice. Then jump up on this little platform here and face towards the right. Position yourself, if you can, kind of in front of this pillar, as it will just make getting up on top and this next piece of movement in general a little bit easier, because if you kind of like cap dive into those pillars, Cappy can kind of get eaten and then you'll bonk into it and it's just a headache. So if you can position in front of it, it's probably the best way. Then center the camera with one of your bumper buttons and then ground pound. And as we've explained multiple times here during this tutorial series, at the very peak of Mario's ground pound, you want to cap dive forward. Then at the peak of that cap bounce, you want to cap stall against the wall, then wall jump off the wall and dive back on top. Just like all the other instances that we've explained this, it's very important that we do everything at the peak of our jumps here, as if you don't, you won't get the height necessary, you won't make it up, you'll bonk, you'll fall, etc, etc. This is really the most important part about making it up top, and it makes it so much easier. Then long jump forward and just make your way into the moon. Then once grabbed, dive towards the camera, center the camera with the bumper button, long jump, and then begin roll boosting. Now you may notice here that Tyron got exceptionally close to the edge of the ledge. You can counter Mario's momentum by holding towards the opposite direction that Mario is going down a slope. So you'll see during this clip, Tyron is holding towards the upright position. But if you feel you're getting too close to this edge and you're not comfortable, honestly, my best recommendation is just long jump again. While long jumping in a scenario like this is rather slow, falling down is slower. So you want to stay up top and you want to be able to roll boost a little bit more. So if you get too close to either of the edges, just long jump, save yourself. It's really way more worth that you don't kill the run here than it is to save like half a second to a second. It's not worth it. But then once you get towards the edge, long jump over it, roll boost 2 more times, and then long jump again, and then cap dive onto this platform here. Turn to the left and grab the moon hidden in the little alcove section. Then once you've grabbed that moon, throw Cappy towards the camera and cap dive. Then you'll see here that Tyron kind of pushes Mario towards the left before cap diving back towards the right. The reason we do this instead of wall jumping against this wall is a large percentage of the time, if you try and wall jump against this wall, for whatever reason, the game will just push you down. It doesn't give you a perfect wall jump. I think it's kind of because of the geometry of the like little overhang area. You kind of interact with that instead. You'll just get pushed down. You won't make it up, and then you'll have to back it up anyway. So jumping out straight from this alcove and then kind of pushing yourself a little bit towards the left before diving is probably the best way. But if you find that a little bit uncomfortable, you can, instead of diving out of the alcove, maybe just like come out a little bit and ground pound and then just cap dive from a little bit of a safer area just to give yourself that room. It's going to really come up to whatever you decide is a little bit more comfortable, but this is probably the faster way and what we're ultimately going for at the end of the day. Then roll boost over the salt pile and long jump into the Spewart fight. Once you enter the fight, jump and instantly dive forward, then jump up and throw Cappy at Spewart's head to knock off his hat, and then continue to move forward into him to deal damage. This is your first cycle. Then kind of stand about where the coin first lands on the floor, wait for Spewart to charge up, and then once he charges towards you, just jump up in the air and land on his head. Wait for him to land. Then as soon as he pops back up out of his hat, run towards him. Once again, jump, throw Cappy at him to knock off his hat and land on his head, and then simply repeat. And just like that, the fight is over. Spewart's not all too difficult of a fight. There are ways to improve this fight to go a little bit faster, but I mean, overall, we're talking like fractions of a second here. This is more than perfectly fine. Then just dive forward, to grab the multi-moon. Wait for the cutscene to play out, and then skip the cutscene that you can skip. Then turn the camera to face towards the left, and then as soon as you gain control of Mario, jump and dive. Throw Cappy at the door to open it, and run through. Then once you've entered the sub-area, hold down and long jump, and then once you're past the wall, cap dive towards the left, and then throw Cappy towards the moon and dive into it. Then once you've grabbed it, cap throw and dive towards the camera, jump around the corner, and then dive back towards the door and exit the sub-area. Now, as soon as you exit the sub-area, your inputs here have to be a little bit precise. For the movement that we're going to show off, if you input anything else or you try and do anything else, it might change your position as Mario, which might make this a little bit harder to set up. So as soon as you exit, what you want to do is backflip, and then cap dive towards the right, jump off this angled section of the geometry here, and then cap throw and dive onto the platform. Learning how to cap dive so that your cap throw doesn't get eaten by the geometry, or so that you actually end up in the general vicinity of this geometry to land on, can be a little bit difficult. It might be a little bit more precise than anything we've gone over up until now, outside of diving at the peak of jumps and whatnot. But really, once you get the hang of this angle, it's honestly almost impossible to forget it. So I do recommend learning it. It's very important, and it is quite speedy. Then once you're on the platform, throw Cappy at the fork and shake your controller to instantly flick up. Then cap throw towards the left and dive. Land on this specific piece of the geometry here, as this part lets us actually jump again. Then jump up top, long jump off the top, cap dive onto the pillar, and then ground pound. At the peak of your ground pound, cap dive forward, then cap throw and dive towards the shining spot on the top of the mountain, and ground pound it to activate the moon. You may be realizing that the movement here is quite intense compared to anything we've really gone over up until now. Luncheon, it just kind of be like that, man. But anyway, as you're grabbing the moon, turn the camera so that you're facing towards the plaza. And once you've grabbed it, cap throw forward and ground pound, then roll boost over the edge, and then cap throw and dive onto the vegetable, and then roll boost over the top of it, and continue roll boosting towards these stairs. Jump on top of it, and then ground pound, cap dive forward, and cap throw and dive up top of the building. And then once you're up top, cap throw towards the top left position on your analog stick, or towards this top glowing box. Wait until Cappy fully extends, and then shake your controller. As long as you've waited for Cappy to fully extend, this should cause Cappy to motion input towards the box to break it open and activate the moon. Then once you've grabbed the moon, cap throw forward and dive over the edge. Tilt the camera down so you can see what you're doing. Throw Cappy at this middle turnip. Then hold Y to pick it up, double jump onto this step, and shake to throw the turnip into the pot, and then run over towards this position on the floor, sort of at the edge of this little circly shape, and then jump up so that you can grab the moon as it spawns. Also making sure that during this movement, you turn the camera towards the left so that you're sort of facing towards the pillar. Then after you grab the moon, wait until you land on the floor, and then backflip, then cap dive, and dive towards this platform in front of the pot, and then Cappy return jump, then cap dive towards this pillar here, and then throw out Cappy to stall in the air, and then ground pound the shining spot on the floor to activate the moon. Grab the moon, then throw out Cappy forward, and then ground pound and roll boost over the edge, then cap throw and dive onto this platform with the salt pile, roll boost, and then long jump, cap dive and dive towards the second area, and then ground pound the spot in the center to activate the moon, and then throw Cappy at the Podoboo to capture it. But before we move on, I should probably explain something that happened just then that you might not have even noticed. During this section here at the beginning, as you're falling, you can tilt your camera down, and then once you're about halfway onto this first platform, you can actually reset your camera with a bumper button, so that as you make your way towards the second platform, the Podoboo's spawn is actually changed, as things in this game spawn depending on camera position usually. A lot of the things in this game just straight up don't exist if they're not on camera. Helps the game run smoothly, you know, optimizations and all that. So by doing this, you can actually influence its spawn so that it doesn't actually end up in this position in front of you until after you've already grabbed the moon. If you don't do the movement fast enough up until there, you might actually do yourself more harm than good. So it's probably recommended to maybe not throw that in until you're a little bit more comfortable with Mario, but it is there once you're ready for it. But anyway, once you've grabbed the Podoboo, turn your camera around to face towards the fork sub-area, then hold Y, begin moving forward, and start shaking your controller to start boosting forward, I guess you could say. Then once you're in front of the platform, jump up as the Podoboo, uncapture the Podoboo, cap throw forward, shake in to activate the door, and then dive and roll boost into it. Once you're in the fork sub-area, begin roll boosting forward, then roll cancel into the fork, shake to instantly flick up, throw Cappy at the second fork, shake to instantly flick up, throw Cappy at this little, I don't even know what these things are called, actually. I don't know, booster things. Then once you capture the fork, shake to instantly boost up. Head a little bit towards the right while you're in the air, and then up throw to grab this fork on the right. Then, you guessed it, shake to instantly flick up. Then here you can hold forward, wall jump off the wall, and basically just throw Cappy to, I don't know, throw it into the booster thing. Then once you've grabbed the fork, you guessed it, shake to flick up. While once again heading towards the right, and then up throw to capture this fork on the right. Then pull the fork down towards the bottom left position and shake to flick yourself over towards the right. There's a hidden moon here that we're going to grab. Throw Cappy at this fork to capture it, shake, and then dive into the moon. Then once you've grabbed it, long jump out of this little alcove area, throw Cappy towards the left and cap dive, then throw Cappy towards the moon, dive over the little railing area, and jump into the moon. Then once you've grabbed the moon, cap throw forward, dive, and roll boost out the door. Then once you're outside, run forward, and throw Cappy at this Podoboo here on the left, and shake to capture it. Then begin shaking over towards the left here to jump up off this mound area. Then once you're up top, begin shake boosting back towards the right. And then once you're just about in front of this wall here, you can jump up as the Podoboo onto the top. And then you can once again begin shake boosting forward to head over towards this platform on the left. Jump up into the air, uncapture it, and dive forward. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's head on back for a sec and explain this jump here. As if you try and do this, you might notice that sometimes you don't actually quite make it up top. And that might be a little bit confusing. You might be wondering, Tom, how the heck do you do this? Explain yourself. This is black magic, sorcery, or some wizardry. Well, not quite. But when you're the Podoboo, there are some rather interesting mechanics that can help you jump way higher than normal. This was actually brought to my attention by a lovely video from 04 Dude. And as he describes in that video, if you jump off of an angled, I don't want to say surface, but an angled section of the lava, as the Podoboo, you will actually jump way higher. We use this in a more advanced jump after just capturing the Podoboo, but in this instance, it also applies to this wall here. You might not be able to notice it, but there are actually slight variations in the height of the lava and tiny little bumps and whatnot. And basically, if you jump off one of those, you will go way higher and you will be able to make it up top. But anyway, let's head back forward. Once you're on this platform here, make sure you're towards the section closer to the camera, and then backflip, cap dive forward, cap stall against the wall, we'll jump off, and then cap dive back forward to get up top, then jump up in the air, cap throw towards the moon, and dive into it to grab it. Then once you've grabbed the moon, cap dive and dive towards the left. You can recenter the camera during this with the bumper button, and then roll boost over the ledge, dive so you avoid potentially bonking into that wall section, and then begin roll boosting forward, avoid the pan bros throwing pans at you. You can head towards the left or right here, whichever works. Then jump up in the air and throw Cappy at the pan bro to knock it off. Then throw Cappy again to capture it. Then move forward, jump up onto the cheese, and begin shaking your controller. You can kind of spam shake here to break open the cheese so that you can activate this lever, and then turning around and recentering the camera and diving. And after the little animation plays, long jump over the edge, and then jump into the moon. Shaking here as a pan bro can be quite annoying. You're dealing with an element of RNG, as the pan bro will kind of just throw the pans in random directions seemingly, and if you try and move while doing this, you will also sometimes get an incredible amount of momentum, and you'll end up running in wild directions that you don't want to end up. So the general recommendation here is to not kind of spam shake and move the whole time. You kind of want to eventually stop and stand still. You'll notice Tyron do that. But if you don't like this approach, personally, I don't. What you can also do is just walk up closer to the cheese blocks that you want to break, in this case the middle ones, and simply throw pans one at a time with a Y or X button until you break open the 4 or so cheese blocks that you need. Then step the pan bro away, uncapture it, and then get close to the switch, basically pushing yourself up against that back cheese block wall, and then throw Cappy at the switch and activate it that way. Either way works, really. Kind of just depends on which you prefer to do, but ultimately, unless you're going super fast, one isn't super better than the other. But anyway, after the moon cutscene plays out, wait for the platform to rise out of the lava, and then skip the cutscene, then jump and dive towards the top right, and throw out Cappy to capture the Podoboo, then hold Y, hold up left, and shake, then jump up in the air while holding forward, and then once you're over this lantern, uncapture the Podoboo, head back towards the camera, and kind of stand in the middle between the lantern and the edge of the platform, and then jump up in the air, so that when the moon spawns, you just instantly grab it. Then once you've grabbed the moon, you can cap throw and dive towards the corner of the platform that you're on. Jump, dive to the platform, then begin a triple jump sequence. Cap dive towards the mountain, wall jump or cap stall off the mountain, and then cap dive and dive back towards it to jump onto it, then jump up in the air, and then you can tilt your camera down so you can see what you're doing, and then head towards the shining spot on the floor. You can throw a cappy here to kill your momentum so that you don't go too far, and then just ground pound to activate the moon. Then face Mario back towards the camera, and then center your camera with a bumper button before jumping up to grab the moon. This way you can just see what you're doing after you've grabbed the moon, which after doing so, turn Mario around, jump up onto this first platform here, and then long jump off of it, and cap dive and dive onto the area off in front of you, triple jump and wall jump off the wall, then throw Cappy back towards it and dive up top, get that Cappy return jump, cap dive forwards, and then throw Cappy towards the left, and you should capture the fork, then instantly shake, dive up top, jump and double jump, and then throw Cappy to capture the meat. Then just spam B, making sure not to move as the meat, otherwise you will require more jumps. Then skip the cutscene. Once you land as the meat, hold forward, jump off the edge of it, cap dive, and then cap throw and dive forward to grab the multi-moon. If you notice here that when you're jumping off the meat, you're not getting a cap dive for whatever reason, that could be due to you jumping too early, as there's kind of this weird property in this game where if you jump too soon after landing on the floor, we think it might be like maybe the first frame or so. What can actually happen is the game won't register that you've touched the floor and therefore won't actually refresh your cap bounce, so you won't get it back. So in this instance, you're coming out of a capture, and normally in Odyssey, when you come out of a capture, you just automatically don't have a cap throw and you will need to touch the floor. So if you come out of the meat capture and then instantly jump, you will of course not have that cap bounce and you will just either bonk or fall in the lava or whatever it may be. So yeah, just a handy little tidbit there. But after you've grabbed the multi-moon, skip the cutscene, skip the second cutscene, and spam through the Cappy text. And then once you gain control of Mario, head down left, jump in the air, and throw Cappy towards the globe, and shake to globe. Well, we're in Luncheon Kingdom, and if you haven't caught on, this kingdom is annoying. Its improvements are just as annoying. We're going to go through some things here today, and some of those things might be a little bit more crazy than anything we've really showed off so far, but we're not taking it too far. But at the same time, we also have to show some of the improvements to this kingdom, and, well, some of the improvements to this kingdom are just kind of obnoxious. So, you know, quite honestly, if you're not ready for any of them, just don't do them. They suck. But anyway, let's dig right in. Right off the bat, the first thing we're going to be taking a look at is some improved movement right at the beginning, doing a trick known as a salt pile triple, where instead of making our way to that platform all the way on the left to make it up top, we're actually going to use a salt pile towards the right-hand side to triple jump off of it and make it all the way up top. This alone can save a second or two. It requires a lot of precision regarding when to triple jump and how to space out your triple jump, as of course you need to try and get that triple to come out right at the top of the salt pile, and then of course utilizing cap those at the peak of Mario's jumps as per usual to make it up top. Then once we've grabbed the moon, we're going to be diving straight away, long jumping and then roll boosting as per usual. But once we make our way towards the moon in the alcove, there's just some slightly more optimal movement to overall end up saving about 3 seconds. Then next up, we have some slightly improved movement coming out of this area here, where instead of cap diving out straight ahead and then pulling towards the left, we're actually going to come out at a slight angle so that we don't have to do that. Then rolling over the edge and diving into the Spewit fight. Then just a generally more optimal Spewit fight by getting as close to the Spewit hat as you can to save a little bit of time on each cycle. and then throwing out Cappy once Spirit goes up in the air. And then once he pops out of his hat, you can jump up, let go of Cappy so that Cappy knocks off his hat to instantly jump on his head and deal damage to him. And then, of course, just repeating that a second time to overall end up saving about a second. Then next up, we have improved movement coming out of the sub-area after the Spirit fight, which is just generally more optimal movement, doing more dives instead of cap dives so that we save more time. And then, of course, adding spin pounds in so we can jump off that pillar just a little bit faster and ending up grabbing the moon about a second faster. Then directly after that, we're adding spin pounds again, and then this fancy triple jump strat into a wall jump off the right-hand wall to then throw out Cappy, turn Mario around in midair, dive, and shake at the same time so that Cappy breaks open the chest just as we make it on top of the roof. So we can grab that moon super quick, then throwing out Cappy behind us and just instantly diving over the edge, picking up that moon, throwing it in the pot like normal, making our way over and bonking into the pot just before the moon spawns so that we can grab that moon just as low as possible, then backflipping, making our way back up to the pillar moon, and spin pounding to activate the moon. All up, this ends up saving about 4 seconds. That triple jump strat really saves a lot of time, and it's quite fancy too. Then next up is the movement directly after that, where of course, once again, we're adding spin pound, doing our normal camera minute movement, and then a spin pound again, then making our way over to the forks sub area. And then once we jump in the air and uncapture the Podoboo, you spin throw while aiming towards the door, and you'll hit the door and open it, and then you can just dive and roll boost into the sub area. This ends up saving about a second. Then next up is our forks movement, where we're going to tilt our camera up to manipulate the little Cappy shooter thingy, whatever the heck it's called. Spin pound towards the fork, up throw to capture it, and then just going through the forks, more or less like normal, but with slightly more optimal choices. And then for this last fork, holding down left and then shaking to flick all the way over, and then cap throwing and diving into the moon instead of having to capture that bottom fork. Then after grabbing the moon, we can let go of Cappy and get a Cappy return jump to jump around the corner, and then cap dive and dive over to the moon, and then make our way out of the fork sub area. All up, saving close to 2 seconds. This next movement is what I more or less alluded to during the beginner movement section, where after capturing the Podoboo, we head directly towards the lava wall and then more or less just skip all of it. Just jump all the way to the top. This again can be done because there are little bumps and whatnot in the lava, and the Podoboo will jump way higher on those bumps. Jumping off a sloped surface will yield a higher jump. That's how this is possible. It's all about positioning, and then just making our way up top and heading towards the middle section this time instead of the platform on the left. Spin pounding once you dive onto it, pulling away back towards the camera, and then throwing Cappy towards the wall, neutral bouncing, and then cap stalling against the wall, and then throwing Cappy back towards the wall and diving up top. This is a more direct line. We are, of course, heading directly towards the moon instead of heading all the way over to the left. And all up, this saves close to 6 seconds. That lava strat is a huge time save, and it's quite essential if you want to go speedy in Luncheon Kingdom. And then for our last clip, after the story moon, spin pounding towards the Podoboo and roll cancelling into it to capture it. You'll notice we grab it just ever so slightly faster, then heading over towards the lantern as per usual. But as we come out of the capture, throwing Cappy towards the platform on the left where we're heading and holding Cappy out before jumping up into the moon. We're going to set up a vault here. So you'll notice that Tyron is moving the camera just before you grab the moon so that you can line yourself up with Cappy, and then buffering a spin pound and spin pounding into Cappy to get a vault. Then triple jumping by maintaining your momentum, and then cap diving towards the mountain and making your way over to the mountain moon. Then after grabbing the moon, you're going to do a blind jump, swing the camera back around, jump up in the air, cap dive, and dive on this tiny little section of the mountain. It helps to come at this parallel to the mountain as opposed to diving directly towards it, if that makes sense, at an angle, as obviously coming along parallel will be less likely for Mario to bonk. Then jumping off, cap diving and diving, double jumping, cap diving, and then chucking in another spin throw. This one has to be an anti-clockwise spin throw. So if you're not really comfortable doing that, if you're more of a clockwise spin thrower, you're either going to have to learn how to do this or just accept that you're not going to get this itty bitty tiny time save, all while holding left on the analog stick so that you can instantly capture that fork, fling up in the air, dive as early as you can, spin pounding, and then spin throwing and diving towards the meat. This all up ends up saving close to 3 seconds. It's also kind of funny how this last clip is like the first time that I've seen Tyron make a mistake, dude. Took you long enough, buddy. So yeah, as you can see, Luncheon Kingdom, to go fast, kind of starts to require a little bit more advanced movement. It really just kind of is one of those kingdoms. But if you think that anything here is maybe a little bit outside of your own skill range, you can kind of make your own tiny little hybrid approaches. So if maybe you feel like what Tyron was showing off is a little bit too far towards the advanced, whereas you're a bit closer to the beginner section, you can kind of blend the two a little bit together. Maybe don't implement the spin pounds or whatnot, but get more comfortable with the movement in general, and then slowly transition into that advanced segment. You don't have to just flip a switch one day and all of a sudden be doing the most optimal movement, but it is the goal to work towards that after all. And while I didn't go super in depth today into the improvement section in Luncheon Kingdom, the reason for that is that I don't feel like it's totally necessary for me to repeat myself over and over again. So down below, I will have a link to both a Fox tutorial and my Improve Your Luncheon Kingdom video, where we more or less go over the movement that Tyron is showing off in these clips. I know some might not be appreciative of me pushing to other videos, but at the end of the day, these do take a long time to make, and me repeating myself unnecessarily is kind of a waste of everyone's time, so I hope you guys can understand. But yeah, that's all from me today for Luncheon Kingdom. I know it's been a bit of a slog, but we made it. If you haven't already, I do highly recommend checking out Tyron Socials. They are, of course, linked down below in the description. Mine are there as well as any other links that we chuck down there to help you out on your Super Mario Odyssey adventure. I'll see you guys in Ruined Kingdom. Oh gosh, next video is going to be a bit boring, isn't it?